Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful individuals. It is yet another Epi of League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you fine folks for a little Kespa Cup preview action. Far and away, for multiple reasons, the most hype Kespa Cup that we've had maybe ever. I mean, number one, you got Disney Plus broadcasting, which we'll get into the pros and cons of that. And of course, number two, you got not just LCK teams, the Vietnamese and Japanese all-star squads coming in, and of course the two NA brethren in Cloud9 and Team Liquid. But looking at this thing as a whole, mostly full rosters is another reason this is the most hype Kespa Cup. DN Freaks are sending basically all subs. BDD is a sub mid laner for 5 academy players for KT, and Lloyd and Harusari are subbing in for Chovy and Ruler, who are doing some military service. But aside from that, everybody else has a full roster.
I'll go ahead and be the bold one to say this will be the most hype, most exciting Kespa Cup that we have ever seen coming on through. Yeah, get your pen out, not even a pencil. Get that pen out. Get it in ink on that piece of paper to write it down, because yes, full rosters for most of these organizations that you have laid out. And again, considering as well, we have seen some swaps, right, that have gone on throughout free agency. So important to check in on that and get our first taste of it, as well as you've laid out having an international aspect to this Kespa Cup changes it to a different, angle, different degree than when you have looked at it in the past, and what you can gain from it this early in the year, right? Again, still 2025, but this is more or less 2026 season. So let's see what we've got here on our table to digest for this Kespa Cup.
And again, in years past, it's more often than not mostly subs that are playing for these squads. You know, the Bros won last year because they had all starters, the main heavy hitters. T1 schedule is such a blur. They ain't sending starters. Gen G doesn't usually send starters. I can't believe T1 is sending starters, but I'm sure Kespa and Disney were going, we got some big broadcasting. You better be playing the big boys for this one.
I think that'll play in when we're talking about the pros and cons that are going to be attached to this year's Kespa Cup, with Disney Plus picking up the streaming and going to be associated with that and everything that will encompass. Yeah, I think we're going to see some parts of that. And yes, one of the aspects that has to be acknowledged is that probably is the big and final push for a lot of these organizations to say, okay, we'll field our main roster. We'll take this a little bit more seriously in this regard.
So we look at the only defending champ coming in is Morgan on Team Liquid. So we've got to see if there's a invisible path for either of these NA teams to actually make some noise. And we've got 3 groups to kick things off here. It's a best of 1 round robin. Team Liquid are in the one group that only has 4 teams, and you're getting the top 2 teams will advance to the next round. So Team Liquid, all they actually have to do is beat Nongshim and the Japanese team. They can lose to T1, that's fine. 2 wins should be enough to get them out of the group. Easy peasy.
And that's more than what should be possible for this Team Liquid squad, and what their goals, what their aspirations and expectations should be in regards to what performance they can give at this tournament. That is your bar that you want to meet, that you want to surpass, and then everything else from that point, extra. It's bonus time at that point. So for Team Liquid, yeah, that has to be those focus. Yes, you can obviously still prepare, still get excited for the matchup against T1. That is always going to be a marquee match on anybody's schedule. But for Team Liquid, certainly looking at what you've gotten and in comparison to Cloud9, even more so, you have this opportunity to get one of those spots out.
Yeah, it's a much harder journey for Cloud9. Number one, they're in a group that has 5, and they're not in the self-dubbed Fries group that is Group B. You see, okay, Cloud9, you can beat the Vietnamese team. You should be able to beat BNK Furex if you want to be a legit competitor, even within your own region. But you have to beat one of Hanwha or Gen G probably to get out of this group. And the first match of this tournament is Cloud9 versus Gen G. And listen, Chovy and Ruler not playing, 2 subs coming in. Keen Canyon Enduro is still a pretty terrifying prospect, but I'm expecting, despite what Dizzy and Kespa want to say, Cloud9 and Team Liquid have got to probably take this tournament more seriously than some of these Korean teams as the visiting region coming in. I still don't think these top tier LCK teams are going to be super hyped and motivated for this tournament, right?
You have to think that there is that extra incentive, extra motivation for these North American teams getting this opportunity, right? And having it be more or less that debut, the first iteration that you're getting this type of opportunity and chance this early in the off-season season to get an opportunity to look at your own performance, what you've got, and to stack it up against what is the LCK, the championship winning region, is obviously a hell of an opportunity. And when you're talking about this one on the Cloud9 angle, yeah, you're certainly still, you've got a tough group that you are going to be going up against, and arguably the toughest group in this Kespa Cup rotation. But what you've got in the opportunities, as you said, even looking at a Gen G that's going to have the substitutes, you have to find a way to get an advantage, find an edge if you are this Cloud9 team. And I think, again, betting on that angle as well, looking on trying to come in with some aggressive attitude. APA is the guy in the mid lane to take that type of attitude to the international stage, even if the results haven't always been there.
And again, it's not for fun, but a preseason tournament with very low stakes, but I'll still throw some expectations or goals for the LCS squads. I think getting to knockout should be the goal for both of them. Maybe it's a higher goal for Cloud9 than TL, but whoever finishes second in these round robin groups goes to the breakout stage, which is then going to be a best of 3 round robin between the 3 second place teams. The 3 first place teams automatically go to the knockout stage, which will be a loser's bracket, typical kind of playoff run. So getting to that knockout stage, I think, is a fair goal for both of these LCS squads.
And I think as well, kind of one of the angles that maybe isn't talked about or is forgotten is that, well, there's a lot of Korean representation on the rosters, even coming from the LCS in North America. You can't tell me that these Korean players don't want to show up and show out in an event that's going to be in Korea against some of these top Korean teams. Absolutely an opportunity. You're talking about guys like Thanatos for Cloud9 that would be looking for, that type of platform to showcase himself. Quid as well, another guy that certainly will want one of these opportunities and have that extra incentive to show out at this event. Those are angles that I'm looking for as well with our North American teams that should be representing. But yeah, the goal has to be to get to these knockout stages. I think both of them more than qualified and powerful enough that that can be the goal that you set out for yourselves. And then from there still are improvements, still are benefits that you're going to gain from being at this event. Very happy that we get to talk about this this time around.
And obviously the other big angle to touch on is, as we alluded to, Disney Plus picking up the broadcasting rights. If you're in North America, excited, I already have Disney, I can watch this, great. You might have to bust out the VPNs, because only in Asia Pacific regions will you be able to actually view this on Disney, which is a little bittersweet. Obviously, you think even having to pay extra on top of your subscription as a pay-per-view event to get it, and you still can't even get it in North America. But that was obviously some dealings that went on behind the scenes between D Plus and obviously Kespa.
It sucks. There's no way around it. I think it's absolutely one of those ones where there's some degree of understanding, some degree of expectation that this was going to be somewhere with a cost, and there might be some type of extra, effort that you have to put in as a viewer to still get through to it. But it is disappointing at the end of the day to have this event and have the inclusion of international, of North American teams, and not go that one step further to make sure that the streaming rights, the broadcast is going to be for that international audience as well. That one stings a little bit because, yeah, you can count me as one of those guys that was in the boat going, all right, I'm done watching The Mandalorian. I've rewatched all my Marvel movies on Disney+. Give me the Kespa Cup part of my subscription, the added bonus, the juicy cherry on top of my Disney Sunday. I forget, that magic costs a little bit extra from the Magic Kingdom of Disney, so you're going to have to fork out for that one. I will say, quick little advice, find the most popular travel YouTuber or food YouTuber, whatever. I promise you, they've got a discount code somewhere in there for a VPN. Get in on that action. Don't let it hold you back. I know it stinks that we got to go through a couple of extra hoops, but there's some avenues still to get access as a Westerner.
And they're kind of billing this whole thing as the road to the Asian Games 2026, which sounds great. And there's not actually any qualification or process that will have impact on what the Asian Games roster are. I think if D plus Kia goes on a huge run, they're not all of a sudden saying, great, Showmaker's going to be the starting mid for the Asian Games. But Disney is going to be carrying the Asian Games, so then it starts to make sense why they're kind of pushing that. But side note, I do think they're probably hoping for a D plus Kia deep run at this, just for the easy bonus sponsorship that's not even actually a sponsorship.
Just the way your brain associates it with the letter and everything.
It's all subliminal, that's the best.
No
ads.
Question, they will take advantage of that one for it. It's certainly going to be one of those events where we're tracking through and seeing how it's going to play out for the Asian Games. Still something to keep in mind throughout the entirety of this year, of course. Does this really factor into how the rosters are going to be formed out and played out? I think in maybe the most minuscule of percentages, it could play into it. I don't have that expectation, but I do think it is more or less a corporate extension where it is that talking point about, yes, Disney Plus is also going to be streaming the Asian Games, which, side note, maybe we can figure out not having to use a VPN for that to maybe view it. I know.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, hey, I got to throw it out there at the very least for these guys to maybe hear it and get a clue about it. But I think, again, it is just that corporate angle of painting and trying to hype up and build towards it, even if the actual games and this event in general doesn't really have that type of connection.
And it's also a little bizarre that, you're not going to be able to get it in North America or Europe, but they're going to have an English broadcast with Atlas and Wolf throughout this, which, I mean, it seems counterintuitive to me, but...
Again, that's where it's not like it's a flat out, no way possible, we don't want this getting out even situation. You've taken steps to appease, to facilitate an international audience. Why are you region blocking it off of the streaming site? Is one of those ones where it's like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Where is the actual money reason, the dollar reason why this is going through? Because that has to be the actual only thing that carries it through. But even then, I can't find it in one of these ones. So absolutely, I hope that's a speed bump we can resolve in this new iteration of the Kespa Cup.
And that's part of the pros and cons of having an Omega corporate sponsor for an event like this. You get more eyes on it. It feels bigger, but there's loopholes and exclusions, and you can bet your bottom dollar there's going to be a whole lot of Stitch and Grogu stuffies throughout the sets. Probably even in-game, I'm expecting some Disney merch to pop up on the Rift.
I would not be surprised to see those type of things going on. We thought it was bad with, what was it, the MasterCard, things that would pop in occasionally at Worlds. Buckle up for the Disney Plus interruptions that we're going to have for the Kespa Cup broadcast.
Hopefully it's not the future of what the Rift actually looks like. But later today, things are going to get kicked off and over the weekend, and we'll be back on Monday to recap the first little bit of Kespa Cup action. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Marky with you, absolute stunners. Thanks so much for hanging out. As always, we will catch you on that flippity flip.